we're only invited at NACCW when there's birthdays. So it's always about time of celebration. So not only are we celebrating the 42nd birthday of NACCW, we've also got another significant 50th birthday, and we also saw a whole range of people that are celebrating birthdays. So it seems as if NACCW is just about celebration. But as we celebrate that, we've also experienced their impact in the work that we do. So as we start, I'd like to thank NACCW, not only for the opportunity to work closely with you on the board, but also for the opportunity to come closer to the sector. I'd also like to greet everyone that is here, and especially our international delegates, because our international delegates, they shine the light on the work that we're doing in this country, and it's important that we're continuously sharing it. For the Professional Board of Child and Youth Care Work, this era has been about moving the professionalization of the work of the child and youth care sector into a new era. So I'm not sure. Do you want the presentation up? Or you want me to do that as well? And my papers. That's it. Okay, I'm going to have to multitask my papers and the presentation. It's not moving. Which one? Which one? This one. Okay. Great. So, this year, in November 2015, the new board that's in place, there was a corporate proposal because the second BCYC board ended in August 2015. Then in November 2015, there was a call for nominations for board members. And there was the exact right number of nominations for positions received. Therefore, there was no need for elections to be held. So all the nominees were elected unopposed. So it was in May 2016 when the minister herself then inaugurated both the council, the social work board, and the child and youth care board. The induction happened in June 2016, and in August 2016, we had our first meeting as the new board. And this year, we've had 2 meetings to date. The process was quite smooth, and it's really to your benefit that we have the caliber of the board members that we have at the moment. I've put up there some of the board members, but I'm sure you know most of them. Zeni and Mel were in their previous board. Ausbesi and Lucky, Francisco, and Alfred are new members on the slide. They are making up, they were the ones that came in new. Then we have Joe, Sispat, and Bumi. There were also members that were sitting in the previous board. And then there's Dr. Lisiba, who's new to the board, to this board. Now, if I can just tell you a little bit about this board members. The previous board members, we had already started to understand each other. There were nice dynamics between us, almost starting to feel like a family. The new board members have brought a different energy, an energy where we're not always agreeing on issues. There's passion, there's discussion, but all of that is always focused towards advancing the sector. It's a time where different views from different sectors are coming through. Now, this board has a capability of being able to work. You have board members that will wake up from all corners of South Africa at 3 o'clock, but would be able to work right until 7 o'clock. So this caliber of board is really because you applied yourself to say, who do we want to be representing us on this board? Who is capable of really carrying the mandate of making sure we're really getting professionalized as a sector? And I'm aware that most board members are here, so I'm going to ask each and everyone to get up just to reaffirm that you are part of the professional board for child and youth care work. So can I ask all the board members to get up, please? The board members that are not here at the moment is our Spesi, Advocate Nalane, and Dr. Lesiba. Dr. Lesiba is the only doctor on the board. And with us trying to professionalize, we're saying we've got a lot to look up to. And board members, I'm hoping that all those proposals are out there and the PhDs are being formulated, because we as a board, if we're saying we're professionalizing the sector, we as a board have to be the examples. So I'm hoping that in 2 years' time, I will be telling you how many more board members are doctors. Now, some of the key work that we've been doing has been focused around administration. You must know, and we also know, some of the challenges that you've had wanting your registration certificates, and saying what is happening with my registration. So we've had to focus on registration mainly because there have been a lot of administration glitches with registration, particularly around the child and youth care section of the council. To date, we've got 7,739 applications that have been submitted for registration, but there have been very few that have been processed. And part of that has been a whole range of issues, but also around the internal challenges that we've been having, where, because it's a new sector that's being professionalized, there's been also limited understanding, even within the council, when we're engaging with regulations, when we're engaging with what exactly does it mean when such an application comes in. So that has had an impact on the pace. And you also know that often if you are challenged around a particular area of your work, you put it aside and you say, let me do what I can do, and then I'll come back to it. And as a result, we found that the pace has been very, very slow. We've had to do a lot of supporting to say, what is this section of the regulator? What does it really mean, so that we're able to process the application effectively? When we realized that there were just too many applications, that there came a time when people who had submitted their applications had not received their certificate, but were then also applying for the following year. Then there was a communication to say, let's hold for a while we sort out our challenges. And therefore, there was some delay in the applications of the 2016-2017. As a result, we've continued to operate on an operational level, which has not necessarily benefited the work that we needed to do at a strategic level. So if I can give you some of the statistics of exactly what we've achieved to date, is that by May 2019, we had 4,515 registration processed. We had 3,222 processed, but awaiting further documentation to be submitted. Now, some of the documentation that will be outstanding will be, let's say, your academic qualifications, your job description, your appointment letter, where we receive an application, but it doesn't have everything. So it's important at this stage to say, please keep us updated of any changes in your communication tools, whether it's your emails or your cell phones, because often that's what holds it up. And also included was 116 new application, 14 registrations in the professional category, and 4,459 registrations in the auxiliary category, including student, child, and youth care workers. We've also engaged around the employment, around the issue of how do we advance development opportunities in relation to employment. So focus has been on the employment and development opportunities in the child and youth care sector, where we are saying, how do we engage with social development to make sure that child and youth care workers are appearing in Department of Social Development's organogram, and that it's reflecting at different levels. So some of the matters that have arisen of concern was around the supervision of child and youth care workers. We don't want to be supervised by social workers. We want to be able to supervise ourselves. So there's continuous engagement with social development to say, we need to feature in there. We've also been engaging around the availability of bursaries to study in the child and youth care sector. Because what happens most of the time is that when bursaries are available, they say, why don't you take the social worker route? But that's not the route we want, because we are building this sector, and therefore we want bursaries that are going to be focused specifically on building the career path for child and youth care sector. And we want to work, when we get into social development or any health, we use social development because that's the one that's closest to us. But there's a whole range of different, justice, where children are being affected. We want, particularly with social development that's working closely with us, that the adverts are specific to the child and youth care sector. They mustn't be general where anyone can apply. We are now in the process of registration. Therefore, there needs to be a demand that you are registered as a child and youth care sector. And the qualifications as well. It can't be just general qualifications. But unless we are able to develop in that aspect, we're always going to be looking to social work as our big sister. We want to be twins, no more big sister. So there's also been further work around the education opportunities, where we've had engagements with 19 universities. To date, we've had response from 2 who were expressing interest. And in that process, we've been engaging to see how do we move the process forward. And the process is moving. And that process is going to make sure that there are more opportunities. If we claim we want to be in these positions, we also need to qualify. We need to make sure that the qualifications are in place so we're able to say, I am just as qualified, and therefore I deserve that position. At the moment, there's only one university that we're able to qualify through. And as this sector, one university is not good enough. If we have over 7,000 people that have submitted for registration, one university is not going to be able to accommodate us. So this work is work that we're focusing on to make sure that we open up more universities where it's easily accessible to do your qualification. But obviously with that work, we've also had to work around initiation of what needs to go into a degree program. And that work too has been happening. Now, some of the additional activities that we still need to be undertaken is working closely with labor unions. Our sector is fairly unique in that we don't work 9 to 5 and pack up at 5 or 4 or 3:30, as in some cases. We have to work with the hours of the children. And therefore, some of the work that we need to engage with unions is around the hours of work. Because if we're saying we're professional, let that also be regulated so that there are no gaps for abuse, but at the same time, we're able to serve the children in the best possible way. We also need to engage with employers. It does not help that we are the only ones that know what needs to happen. Our employers also have to support so that we are being held accountable. And therefore, employers need to help us to make sure that whoever they employ is registered. So we need to have those engagements. We're going to be having those engagements. Abiding by the code of ethics. I mean, our sector is working so closely to children who can be very vulnerable. Are they allowed to be abused? And therefore, we have to be able to say, I will abide by the code of ethics, but I also know I've got someone else who's holding me accountable to make sure that I abide by the code of ethics. So if at any stage I want to look the other way, there's someone looking out. So the employers need to come on board and help us to make sure that those elements are being held up. And of course, the vetting with the CPR is very, very important. Because if we're saying we want to be held accountable, then it's very important that the Child Protection Register, you are registering on it. Of course, we've been participating also in the Social Services Professional Bill. It's under review at the moment. And we've been having engagement in multidisciplinary case management work where we've been unpacking the roles of the different social services professions and finding ways of working together. Most recently, about 3 weeks ago to a month ago, we were able to work very closely with UNICEF in making sure we are moving forward. So a very big thank you to UNICEF, because as a board, this is an area we've been wanting to engage with for a very long time. So what's our vision? Having agreed to continue as this board for the next 5 years, we have to have a vision that we're working towards. So by 2021, our vision is that every child and youth care worker is fully regulated. That the issue of qualifications is being sorted. The issue of registration is a key one. We want to get to a stage where you cannot practice unless you are registered. And unless we move with your registration, because I know I might be saying you cannot practice if you're not registered, but you're looking at us and you're saying, but you're holding up my registration, so how am I? Yes, that process too is moving. And obviously the vetting with CPR is very important, because if you're saying you're working with children, it's important that you say, I'm putting my hands up. I am capable of working with children, and you can trust me to work with the children. So we also need to engage around the OSD review, because currently with the child and youth care workers, we're at level 7. And we need to be able to say we're moving up all the way to level 13. Because we don't just want to be at that level. We want to say we have chief directors at social development who are child and youth care workers. We have directors who are also supervising other child and youth care workers. So unless we have this reviewed, we're going to be stuck at level 7. So that's part of the work that we want to be able to move forward. Bridget courses and career, in relation to career pathing, because there's a lot of you who already have a lot of qualifications. Now, how do we make sure that we recognize those qualifications and make sure that the career pathing is being supported? The diversified settings where we don't want to be stuck in one sector. We want to be able to be everywhere, where community, residential care, schools, hospital, courts, and where we are recognized. And also around the specific specialization, where you are able to say, even at auxiliary level, if that's where I want to be, I can focus and be a court support. I can focus and specialize in that particular area. A big challenge we've had is around the understanding of who we really are. Yesterday, during the party, a beautiful young lady was speaking to us, and she was telling us that she submitted her proposal for a PhD. And as she was trying to differentiate between child and youth care and social work, and there, even the lecturers were battling with the process of saying, what is it that you're trying to do? So if the battle is even at academic level, we have a lot of work to make sure that people understand, what do you mean when you say you're a child and youth care worker? Because often you are just dismissed, oh, you're a social worker, oh, you're just a community worker. No, we are quite well defined. So it's important that we're continuously advocating and making sure people understand that who are we really? And we need CYC to be embedded in the policy, but the policy review is happening at the moment. We need to make sure that we're not just being called and other social services, because now we exist. Before we were professionalized and registered and recognized, yes, we could be any other social service professionals, but now we are the child and youth care sector, and therefore there's a clear need for recognition around that. And around the CPD point, we are in the process of developing the policy and looking around the ethics and the code of good practice. And as indicated, we want to make sure that the degrees are in place at all levels, up to PhD. But of course, we look to the board to start with their PhDs or to complete their PhDs, because I know there were beautiful topics that were going around. So in closing, I'd just like to highlight just summarize what has been happening for us, is that the board members there's always an excellent representation. It is very seldom that you have anyone not attending the board meetings. So that kind of commitment means that when we do get together for those 2 days, we're able to move quite significantly. As you know, and you've probably experienced a lot of challenges, that there have been a lot of challenges with the council, but that's a thing of the past, because the new members that have joined council now have come with a different energy, an energy that's saying, yes, we don't quite understand what this child and youth care registration or regulation is saying, but we are prepared to do it. And part of the indication of that is that we've got, the last conference, there was not a single person from council. But this year, we've got council representative, led by the acting registrar. So can I ask the acting registrar to please stand up, please? And all the council staff. Now, where they are sitting, when the call came out to say, we need to come closer to the sector. We've been saying that all along, of course. It was not the first time we're saying it. This time, we weren't ignored. This time it was, we are coming with you. And we're going to see if, can we not resolve some of the challenges that are being experienced in the sector. So some of the work that they've been doing is, up to now, up to date, they have received a total of 93 inquiries. That's from yesterday and today. Out of those 93 inquiries, 55 have been completely resolved. We have 26 that are outstanding, and there'll be follow-up on 12. So this is an indication that with this new breed, with this new management that is coming into council, there's hope for the sector. There's hope, and we're hoping that before the end of the year, we'll be able to say with pride that everyone that has submitted and completed or submitted all the documents that are required will be registered. And if not, you will have had clear communication of what exactly you need to be doing. I remember when we came to the last conference, we came with excitement of regulations being promulgated, but we're coming back and we're still saying out of that 7,000, but now we're hopeful that by the time we come back, we'll be doubling the numbers because there's lots more within the child and youth care sector. And in closing, just to say thank you to the board. Thank you to the board because I'm able to stand here with pride, mainly because of all the support that I get from you. And I say, we've got a lot of hard work to do, but I know with your dedication, we will be able to do it. Thank you.